what you don't know can kill you, and ultimately will, because at the end of the day, all of us are going to die. And after having built two multi-8-figure companies, another 8-figure company, another 8-figure company, and then now we have a portfolio of companies that do just about $1 million a week, I've learned some things about financial education and things like that, and I realized I was wildly deficient in other areas. And so in this search for meaning and figuring out, what I want to do when I grow up, I've kind of bucketed the different disciplines that I think all of us have to learn as entrepreneurs to fill the hole that we have in our souls. And I think a lot of us, we pursue business because we feel like it is going to fill this hole. Even on some level, we know it won't, but we do it anyways because we just don't have another best bet. And so after having enough money to question the meaning of life, I've kind of looked at these buckets as 7 things. And so that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. And I think it's useful because a lot of times we just don't know what we lack. And simply having an understanding of the breadth of topics and disciplines that we should have and understand will show us where our deficiencies are. And I believe that you need all 7 in order to feel more complete. And as I've made more progress in these things, I feel like I've been able to unearth my singular meaning. It's not necessarily yours, but for me, it's to learn. I love learning. And so for me, one of the best ways of learning is teaching. And so I get questions all the time about why I make these videos, like why would I care about doing this stuff for free? I do it for me because I love learning, and I learn best through teaching, what I'm going through right now. And so these are the 7 different disciplines that I think every human being has to learn. All right. So the first is foundational education. All right. Now the good thing is the system is pretty decent at teaching this one. All right. So this is like reading, writing, and math. Like that's how I see it. It's like if you can read, write, and do math, you'll learn that from school. And specifically just like reading, writing, and math are kind of what I would consider foundational principles, because from there you can use reading and writing and math to learn the rest of the principles, right? And so this one's foundational. And this is pretty much the only one that we get taught in school, which is why everyone, or at least for me, I felt wildly deficient to deal with the real world because there's so many other things, right? Which is crazy to me that like what we cover are not I think we should just get foundations. If I were to redesign our education system, I would just teach reading, writing, and math, and then the rest of it would be around these disciplines, all right? So the next thing is physical, all right? And the thing is if you're living in this world, you live in the physical plane, and so you have to understand what you need to eat and how do you need to move in order to, increase your energy, longevity, et cetera. And so all the things underneath this is bucket, energy, would be like sleep, like your own sleep routines if you have them, but not to be religious about them or superstitious about them, because those end up becoming handicaps more than they actually end up helping you. But how to actually train to look the way you want to look, how to eat the way you want to look, how to eat and train the way so you can know how you want to feel. All of this stuff, because you exist in this plane and we have these bodies for our whole lives. And so it would behoove us to learn how to do these things, because all the rest of these disciplines are no longer a priority if your physical health is waning, right? It's like, there's a saying about everybody can have every wish in the world except for when you're sick, you only have one, which is to not be sick, right? And so learning this is what I would consider the second level of education. The third level of education that I've outlined for myself is professional, right? And this is one where, depending on what your skill set is, right? Or what career path you want to go down. Some schools are, if you want to be an accountant, there's a decent career path there for you to learn that skill. Now, most accountants would say, yeah, when I had my, once I graduated with my MAC or my master's in accounting, that's when really my real education began, right? And so many of these are like that, especially from the formal education standpoint. But hopefully as I'm going through these, you can think to yourself like, okay, where am I lacking? And as I get higher and higher up, I will tell you, I think the fulfillment and the meaning that you can derive from them, these kind of work like a pyramid, right? Like this is the base and then you build up, all right? The next level of this, what I would consider is emotional, all right? And this one, you have to continue to grow over time, because this is just like understanding your own feelings and thoughts. And as you grow as an entrepreneur, you have to know these things, because you'll figure out where your deficiencies are. All of us have them. And if you can't think to yourself what your deficiencies are and name them and be okay with yourself while still having them, I think that you get stuck there. Because you just don't know how to fix yourself, right? Not that you need to be fixed, but how to grow, right? And so this is the fourth level of education. Now note, This one we don't get taught anything about at all, anywhere, right? And you have to learn all this stuff on your own, and most of us have no education on this. So think about how much time you've devoted to like this one now, because now we're really departing from formal education. Obviously, there's not much formal education around physical. Recess doesn't really count, right? The next level that I have here is relational. All right, so this is how to communicate, influence, and deal with others. And this is wildly important because first you have to master yourself, right? And then the next step there is being able to relate to others in a way that is meaningful. And so by doing that, you're able to influence others, you're able to build groups, build tribes, build companies. All of this is going to be predicated on your ability to deal with other humans. Again, this isn't taught anywhere, right? That's why, you know, some of the books that were most transformational for me in my life were books that talked about how to deal with other people, how to communicate, right? How to have people like you, right? How to have people trust you. And really the flip side of that is how to be likable and how to be trustworthy. Rather than some like hacks or tricks, it's so much more about the character traits, which is the ugly answer, but it's also probably the truth. So these are the 5 levels. And if you're looking at yourself right now, hopefully you should be like, well, how much time am I spending learning this discipline for my own emotions? How much time am I spending learning this discipline in learning how to relate to others? The next one that I have here is financial. All right, financial literacy. And I would say this first in the beginning is personal finance, which is basically learning how to spend less than you make, and then ideally significantly less than you make if you listen to any of my stuff, because wealth is a ratio. It is not a number. It is a ratio between how much you earn versus how much you spend. So if you want to increase your wealth, you can decrease your expenses, and in so doing, become more wealthy. Think about that for a second. And while you process that, I will tell you the second iteration of financial, which is then how to multiply. So in the beginning, it's about the getting of the money. And then the next level, it's about how to multiply the money that you have, right? And have the money work for you. And that's I would say currently, this is where I'm focusing a lot of my time and attention because I want to learn that game. That being said, a lot of these things combine together, right? Like if you want to have a business, you need to know how to manage your own emotions. You need to know how to relate to others. You need to know how to manage finances. You need to have some skills that you have professionally, you can provide value to the marketplace in. And remember, with like this professional skill that I was saying earlier, only if you have like a formal career path are you going to learn this in the formal education system, which is, you know, failing everybody even more every day. But most professions, right? You learn by doing. You learn by getting into that industry, right? And so that's why there's no school for entrepreneurship. Not really. You know, there's entrepreneurship schools, but like, let's be honest, like they're not legit. The real school for entrepreneurship is just getting into the game and starting to play. And so right now, as we're thinking, you're going through this, right? I've named 6, and I'll tell you the last one in a second. But think about where you rate on these. Like, how much time am I spending learning about financial education? How much time am I spending? Can I read a balance sheet, right? Can I read a cash flow statement? Relational, right? Like, how much time am I spending learning how to relate to others? Do you say things like, and this is important for everyone who has an identity, which is everyone, right? Do you say things like I don't play well with others? I don't even like saying that, me personally, as I'm telling you this. I don't like saying that because I don't like speaking that over myself. But I can tell you, the more you can become aware of how people say I am, I do, I have, right? I must, I should, etc. People tell you their own limiting beliefs, and the things that you say and the things that you speak over yourself become your reality. And like, this is very true. Like, I don't even want to say this. Like, people will say, I'm not good with money, right? I don't even like saying it, right? Because you speak this belief into yourself and that becomes your reality. And so the first thing you have to do is start correcting your language so that, you know, it's like, I have a weakness here. I have a deficiency in terms of my learning, right? Because then it becomes an opportunity that you can fix rather than I am this way. It is certain I speak this way and therefore will never grow, right? And so as you're looking through these pillars of disciplines that come inevitably on the entrepreneurial journey, you have to see what your deficiencies are and learn them, right? And if you're like, look at this and this seems overwhelming, well, you have your whole life to learn them, which is what I think is inspiring. And I honestly think for me, looking at these disciplines has given me a lot of meaning in my own life because I just see this as so much stuff that I want to do. I want to learn all this stuff. And then it makes living more interesting for me. And then finally, the last one is philosophical. All right? And this is the values that you choose to live by. These are the things that you believe to be true that are eternal. And so for me, this has been incredibly useful. And I can tell you guys, for anybody who's watching this, like, when you have enough money to spend millions of dollars a year, every single year for the rest of your life, just on the money that you have, assuming it doesn't even grow, like, you ask different and weirder, like, life gets weird, right? You have weirder questions that you ask, and then you realize that there's really, so hopefully I can jump to the end of that for anybody who's curious. You won't get more fulfillment from all of these things, any one of these things, but it's really feeling how you can balance all of these things. But I think that philosophical, despite the fact that I said it's the 7th bucket, I actually think that it's the most important bucket. And all of the changes in my own subjective well-being and how much I enjoy living have come from fundamental shifts in my philosophy about what I believe it means to be human and the time that we spend here on Earth. And so, anyways, if you're looking at yourself and you're looking at your own deficits, and that's okay, is one of my favorite sayings that I tell myself, my own self-talk, right? I'm not good at this, and that's okay, right? I'm not good at this yet, and that's okay. I'm not good at the relational side with other people yet, and that's okay, right? Because I'm going to learn, right? I'm not as good at the finances as I would like to be yet, and that's okay, right? And so it gets you out of this defeatist talk, this absolutism of being deficient, and making it as something that's an opportunity for you to grow in. And I know this sounds minor, but I'm telling you, when I look at the employees that I have, I look at the people that are in our company, I look at the businesses that we work with, I can tell immediately by someone's language patterns how likely they are to grow, right? And so the first thing you can do is correct your own language patterns for each of these buckets. But getting back to philosophical, right, as the 7th bucket, this bucket, I believe, it's the meaning of life, right? And what'll happen is, if you are doing all of these things, you're doing your financial education, you're making more money, you're increasing your influence through your relational discipline, your sense of self and your emotional management, your impulse control is improving, right? Your professional skills are enhancing. Your physical well-being, your energy, your sleep, the habits that you have around that are things that are increasing your longevity, increasing your energy, increasing your sense of well-being from a physical standpoint. And hopefully you have the foundational education of learning, of reading and writing, which if you don't, you should do that first, because it's the gateway to learning all these other things. But the thing is all of these other ones, if you don't know why you're doing them, I think that ultimately you don't feel better. So you may improve all of these things, but you don't feel better. And I think that most of us just want to feel better. And so for me, making strides in understanding why I do what I do and where I derive meaning in life has been one of the most fulfilling for me. And ultimately why I've been increasing my constant stuff on the channels, and I'm writing books right now that I'll be releasing for free for everyone, just to help other entrepreneurs and people make positive contribution with the potential that we all have inside of us. And so anyways, I wish you an absolutely amazing day. Stay tuned for my next video. Hope you love it, and I'll see you in the next vid. Bye.